It's time for the regular season finale here in the NSIC. Two teams in a very different spot in their season. The Marauders of UMary, tournament bound, following an exceptionally successful year. Meanwhile, for Northern State, a bit of a disappointment, still a chance to play spoiler and try and knock the Marauders down in the NSIC tournament rankings. Happy to have you along here on BEK Prime, everyone. Corey Brooks alongside Brian Rothenberger to bring you the action. What promises to be a fun one. The Marauders are playing as well as anybody in the Northern Sun right now. And Brian, as we so often say, when the postseason rolls around, it's all about how you finish. And right now the Marauders are finishing strong.
Yeah, and they do have a little bit to worry about today as far as the result of this game. It could affect where they end up in the postseason, but more important, I think what you just alluded to, how you play at the end of the year will translate to the postseason. We have seen it all across the sports we have covered. Historically, it generally holds true. You do not want to lose any momentum. And as you said, they have built a pretty good amount of it here late in the season.
Let's take a quick look around the region, brought to us by the North Dakota Firefighters Association. If you have any more than your 8 to 5, visit them at ndfirefighter.com to learn more about becoming a volunteer firefighter. Minnesota State Mankato is your current leader. They take on the Warriors. The Beavers, another very good team to keep an eye on. They will play the Dragons today, the Battle of Minnesota in the top left, and a whole lot of outstanding NSIC collegiate action, including this Tuesday. As we're right back here at UMary, they will welcome in the Beavers of Minot State, nearing the end of the volleyball regular season as well. That is a look around the region, brought to us by the North Dakota Firefighters Association. The Wolves get ready in center circle, and we are ready as well. Happy to have you along. Corey Brooks, Brian Rothenberger, Noah Reed, Ross Kohlhase here at the MDU Resources Community Bowl. Jared Calvert and Cole Let's Go are just down the road here at our BEK Broadcasting Studios at the University of Mary. Big thank you for joining us on the abbreviated Farmers Union Insurance pregame show. The ball is kicked off and we are underway. 90 minutes of soccer here at the Bowl. UMary trying to secure the 5th spot in the NSIC tournament. One away from hosting, still that possibility, and to continue their outstanding form so far this season.
Couple early turnovers forced by UMary, one affected by the elements, and that'll be something to keep an eye on today. The wind is howling down on the field. It is blowing on your screen from your left to your right, and is going to certainly keep a lot of kicks down closer to the field. Not a good idea to be floating them high today.
The Marauders having to contend with the elements in their last few games. Nothing new for teams in the NSIC as that one will go out for a touch. Consistently having to contend with it. We saw the football games this past weekend, in many a case, receiving a little bit of dust in the air. That's exactly where we find ourselves. Now, the Wolves go all the way back. It is cleared on the ground. UMary giving some pursuit, but still just trying to gain their form once again here at home. Sent all the way to the back, and it'll just be a goal kick for Justine Charles, the senior netminder for the Wolves out of Zimmerman, Minnesota. Both teams as varied as you'd expect in terms of hometowns. And right now, UMary is going to try and cash in a golden opportunity, unable to convert. They run it down just outside. Still held on to by the Marauders. A good chance if they can maintain possession. The back line of the Wolves stands tall, and they manage to feed it out quickly. Tori Colesso with a brief midfield touch, and now the Wolves will just clear it and get reset.
Yeah, Megan Lowry nearly had a nice look from about 10 yards outside the box. Spoiled by a strong defensive play, but UMary staying aggressive here early.
Mary boots it deep. Nothing there. Charles will just pick it up for Northern State. As we told you, UMary playing very well as of late. 7-2-1 in their last 10 games, and they've rounded into the top of the offensive section for NSIC. Offensive and defensive numbers. Top 5 in goals per game and goals allowed per game. If you lead in those two stats, Brian, you usually find yourself in a very good spot.
You certainly will, and the offense really the reason they have come on so strong. Their defense has been very solid throughout the year. They have only allowed 2 goals or more twice. One of those fairly recently in a tough game versus a very good MSU Mankato team. But That defense has been consistent. You certainly understand as the year goes on, the offense is going to become more comfortable. Players getting to know each other. As you mentioned, the expectations for this team weren't incredibly high. It's a young team.
Yep.
They have come together and playing well here when it matters.
Picked 12th in the Northern Sun preseason poll. Some aggressive play. Ball maintained initially by the Marauders. They still managed to get it. Cross goes into the box, but there are no UMary players in, so Justine Charles picks it up for Northern State. Nevertheless, the early pace of play very much favoring the University of Mary getting in on Charles with regularity. We have not mentioned the name of Hannah Smith on the other side. UMary looking to work that ball forward from midfield. As Brian said, the elements continuing to play havoc. Many a grounded pass so far for both teams. Trying to battle against that wind, but the downside of that is you allow the defense a chance to stick a toe out, disrupt your passing rhythm. Good work trying to get to the offensive third by Josephine Dahlberg. UMary retreats, looking for something. Chance centered up, rallied to by Allison Bird, the senior defender. Once again, cross into the box. Right idea, trying to find Jade Smith. That is the offensive weapon for the Marauders. Doesn't pay dividends that time. Still, Mary maintains. Once again, working into the offensive third. Another chance, 20 yards out. Cross comes over Jade Smith. It was just behind her.
Good pressure early on for Mary, but give credit to Northern State as well. They are doing a good job of protecting the perimeter of the box. They are keeping everything away. The second that ball enters, if they can get a foot on it, they can. They're putting it out of bounds. UMary keeping this pressure on.
It'll be a throw in and a relatively clean set piece opportunity for the Marauders. It comes back out, picked up top by Dooley. Dooley cross into the box, out beyond the back line, and it'll just be sent away by Northern State.
And I think there may have been a little bit of miscommunication there for the Marauders. That ball sent in by Dooley. Kendra Cook was in the area, but she stayed put. Had she cut towards the net, she may have had an opportunity alone to find our first goal of the game.
That ball has never settled down, and a foul comes. The Wolves tried to just keep that thing in the air and rotate it around. Ordinarily, you want to take a moment, kill that ball, play from the spot. That time the whistle comes. And you'll get a free kick over on that far side for UMary. Comes into the box, header on, and it's in! The University of Mary Marauders strike first, and they do so quickly. It's the sophomore Josephine Dahlberg on a picture-perfect set piece for the Marauders.
Well, you could feel it coming. The pressure stayed on, and the looks were just getting better and better, and that is a beautiful touch on that ball. No chance to keep that one out. 1-0. UMary with a great start to this game. It's always interesting to see if teams that know they are booked a spot in the postseason, how they will come out and perform in a game versus an opponent that's had a tough year. UMary not pulling any punches.
That was a brilliant pass as well. As you said, there could be concern about how your form looks in a game that means something, but with the postseason spot already secured, courtesy of the win a couple days ago, you could initially perhaps criticize the energy of the Marauders. Not so now. And they continue, as a part of the tear they've been on, to execute on set pieces. Coach Cook has praised her team in these last few games, really executing on those free kicks, those corner kicks. And you see a picture-perfect example of it right there. 1-0 Marauders, just like that. So now Allison Bird trying to settle it down. The Wolves have not spent much time on this side of the middle of the field.
Yeah, they got across. They started with the kick in this game. Put it back on their half. Got it over on, I think, the third touch. And since then, we haven't seen them.
UMary with one of the best back lines in the Northern Sun. They have not gotten that opportunity to showcase it yet. And they'll say, all right, that's fine. We'll stand back here and watch. Now they will be called into question for the first time today. Physical play over on that far side. A good idea by Danielsdottir, but It'll remain a throw-in for Northern State as they slowly advance, looking for the counterpunch to the early UMary goal. Hannah Richter fighting on that far side. And as we talk about the varied hometowns of both rosters, Hannah Richter, of course, from right here in Bismarck, North Dakota, the former Century grad. That one is headed into the box. Chance at it. There is the sure-handed netminder, Hannah Smith.
A good job by Smith to not have fallen asleep already in this game. A lot of watching down on the far side of the field, but that was an effective ball inside by Northern State. It just kind of kept innocently hopping until it was all the way in the crease, and Catherine McKay was there, had that ball gotten in, but picked up and sent the other way.
Meanwhile, Hannah Smith's clear turned into something that may have actually come to a UMary attack simply because the wind is howling left to right across your TV screen. Create some opportunities. Good tackle here on the near side. Quick foot of Caitlin Dooley. As she battles forward, is just sent out.
And those may be the two players affected most by this wind as the keepers. For the Marauders, it could be good. For Justine Charles in Northern State, she's going to have a tough time getting that ball even close to midfield with that wind right in her face.
Tori Thorpe sends it along that far sideline. Continuing to fight, trying to find Colesso, unable to do so are the Wolves of Northern. Still, they maintain the possession at mid-pitch. Long and air pass, now pushed ahead. It'll turn into a foot race. They trust Allison Bird in these spots. Bird does get a couple touches on it. She has to shoot under consistent defensive pressure. Elizabeth Patterson, the one getting in the way and denying a clean opportunity to the Wolves.
A good job by Patterson. Also a nice job from Cassidy Pierce coming back in support. Didn't have to make a play on the ball, but when those bodies get back and fill up space defensively, you limit the options for the attack. And because of that, what looked like a very good chance to start out was nothing.
Megan Lowry very nearly got a clean look on a counterattack off of the Hannah Smith clear. That's twice now that the Marauders on the defensive get it out of here pass have nearly created a clean look. Once again, it'll come to Megan Lowry. Lowry going to work a few touches, directs it in, cross comes, turns into a shot, and it will wind up just high. That's Jade Smith. You've got no problem if Jade takes a shot from anywhere. The junior out of Rochester, England, your points leader for the Marauders.
On the wind made that scary. That ball just kept staying up. In the end, it was probably the wind that pushed it over the crossbar, but a scary look from Jade Smith trying to put her team up 2-0.
And there, the goal kick from Thorpe winds up getting knocked down by the wind. Still, good through ball to try and find Allison Bird. Sliding retort from the Marauders. And a whistle will come, and it will remain on this end of the pitch. Let's take a look at our player matchup brought to us by Choice Financial. I want to remind you that Choice Financial is people first. You can find out what it means at choicefinancialgroup.com. Jade Smith is a big part of what this team does as they set up a free kick from the 30-yard line. Otherwise, she is your offensive leader. Meanwhile, Cheyenne Rosselli for Northern State, the points leader for the Wolves, just a sophomore, and really epitomizes the youth on this Northern State team. So your two goal leaders already making a couple of impacts. Free kick comes in and goes well wide. UMary tries to cash in on the shot off of the free kick. Certainly when you're feeling the mojo, why not? That time the wind carries it wide right of that goalpost.
Boy, it was funny on that kick, the wind affecting the ball, not just after it was in the air. Before the kick occurred, lying flat on the turf, it actually blew the ball about 2 yards forward. UMary had to wait for that to get set. The officials let it be kicked from the spot where it fell, but it is a gusty, gusty day here at the MDU Resources Community Bowl.
That ball unsettled and just pushed in by Jade Smith. Now Northern State send bodies to the box. They'll say that was last touch by the Wolves, and so the first corner kick of the day, and the wind gets a hold of the soccer ball. Jade Smith was getting ready to blast, and she said, hold on. She tries to wedge it firmly into that turf here at the bowl. Now, another set-piece opportunity for the Marauders. Cross into the box. Header goes wide right. Good idea on a clean pass. Just sent wide by Megan Lowry. Offensive option A tries to hook up with offensive option B for the Marauders. But it'll just be a kick out. Wind once again gets a hold of that one. Coach Cook was very proud of her team playing through the elements in the postseason clinching game a few days ago. They'll have to weather that storm again, pun intended, to try and continue what has been an incredibly successful season for them, their best in about half a decade. Their first double-digit win season since 2012, and their first NSIC tournament berth in that same amount of time for UMary. Now Allison Bird leads the counterattack. Good ball right in front of her. Outstanding triangle passing game by the Wolves, and a good job to come back to it by the freshman Colesso. Now sent up, but it'll get knocked down in the air. Those passes are going to have a tough time today, and it comes to Tiffany Olhauser, who clears for the Marauders.
I like the start of that rush for Northern State, but it looked good because they were keeping it on the turf. A couple of nice passes, and that was a play set up for an overball like that, but not the day for it. You could see off the foot, that thing was going straight up. No chance to get any distance on it.
Coming that way is going to be very difficult for this half for Northern, and the tables will turn at the halftime break. And through the first 10 or so minutes, this game script is painted orange and blue. The pace of play very much favoring the Marauders, and they have the result in their favor as it sits right now, a 1-0 lead, courtesy of a great cross in and a cash in by Josephine Dahlberg.
And it's a luxury on a day like this to start with the wind at your back, in addition to being less of a factor and how it's affecting the soccer ball. It's windy enough today where you feel it when you're running.
Sure.
And it gives you a little extra push when you're going towards the net, and it's slowing down the opposition when they're countering. UMary
with a really good ball in that finds Kathy. Cross denied by the defense, and now they will get their counterattack. Here come the Wolves, not playing very many back, looking for the in-air through ball, but unable to find it. Tori Colesso was flirting with that line. Couldn't cash in. Turnabout not there for the Marauders. Still, they maintain possession of the offensive third. Cross in, but right at Charles.
Well, and a really nice series there for Hannah Richter. She halted that rush all by herself, then stepped back up into play to fire that shot in on Charles. And there you see the clear from Charles.
Yep.
Her first, just absolutely crushed.
Shot on, stays grounded, and that way it does have a chance at goal, but it also gives Charles plenty of time to fall on the ball. Clears for Charles have been really difficult. Meanwhile, for Hannah Smith and the couple opportunities she's had, they were 60-yard field goals.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now UMary will try and take advantage of that wind again. Header by Northern just creates a clean opportunity for the Marauders. Knocked down by Megan Lowry. Does a good job of just getting a toe in. Marauders will establish possession once again. Good run through on the far side, looking to get it into the box. Knocked down, played about, centered up. Mary trying to force it in, and outstanding back row work by the Wolves of Northern State will prevent that possession from paying any dividends. Still, it's Marauder ball. Jade Smith with a throw in. Directly towards that back line, played up, out once again, last touch by Northern. So it'll be Tiffany Olhauser. On the throw in, a good one. Just knocked out of play again. Though the wind will even knock that down. It won't find its way out of play initially. And it'll be a goal kick for Northern State.
Nice start to this game continues for UMary. I mean, Northern State had that one look off the throw-in. Seems like it was a while ago, but for the first minutes of this game, nothing has really gone wrong for the Marauders, and they have the most important kick so far today.
We've seen a few quality counterattacks for the Wolves as that ball started going forward and was immediately sent back. Good fortune for the Marauders, courtesy of the elements here at the MDU Resources Community Bowl.
Good fortune for the Marauders. At the same time, Northern State has to adjust to that.
Very much so.
And they haven't done it.
Almost a great turn, touch on, shot wide for UMary. Jade Smith and Megan Lowry near the top of the NSIC in goals. As we told you, this team is top 5 in the conference, and so naturally their top 2 goal scorers continue to make a mark. And there is nothing Justine Charles can do right now. Any ball that is not touched up by somebody is going to be blown out of play. And right now, the Wolves cannot get this ball out of their defensive third.
Charles has to talk to her defense, start just rolling this ball out. Get somebody in a little bit of space, put it in a place where they can get to it, and let them carry it up. You're not going to clear the zone with one kick today.
Battle for it along that near side. Outstanding pressure applied by Elizabeth Patterson, one of the seniors, playing her final regular season home game, and quite possibly final home game of the year. If UMary does hold this result, they will be the 5th seed, which opens the possibility they can host an NSIC tournament game as foul comes. It's the higher seed who hosts no matter what, highest remaining seed. So if there are some upsets and UMary survives the first round, there could possibly be another game here at the MDU Resources Community Bowl. That's a big if, though. For now, UMary is just focused on entering the tournament with a winning streak and maintaining that 5 spot and potentially setting up a matchup with the Beavers of Minot State, making your travel as easy as it can possibly be, staying here in the Peace Garden State. Jade Smith lines up the free kick. A 2-woman wall for Northern State. The wall wins out, but it comes right back to Smith. Cross into the box. Ball remains up in the air. It'll go beyond the back line, and a corner kick for the Marauders.
And I'm not crazy about that decision on the kick. When you have the wind like it is today, get that ball in the air. And yes, they were able to get it up off the rebound, if you will, and that turned off the wall. But you have players headed towards the net. That wind is not going to make anything easier for Northern State. Force them to make a stop.
Jade Smith tucks it right along that back line. Gonna try and steer this one into the netminder's box. She does just that. Header on, but a clean defensive foot by the Wolves of Northern State. That is Nicole Griffith, who comes up with a necessary touch to keep the result at 1-0.
And there you go, off the corner. They floated up. Right on the foot of Caitlin Dooley. She got a great shot off. If not for that defensive stay, it's 2-0 right now.
That one crossed in almost. Speaking of, that one is Megan Lowry, who just misses on a bend-it-like Beckham kick.
Wow.
I think a finger was there for Justine Charles as well, and, well, that might be all it takes. Still, the Marauder onslaught continues. Another corner from the far side.
And everything working for UMary right now. Northern State is rattled. They are having a tough time making anything happen, and the Marauders are not taking their foot off the gas.
I love the idea on the corner kick. Keep it grounded on a pass. Then get your whip in a little bit closer to home. Now the Marauders still trying to keep that tempo going. Fast is always better than slow. Sent into the box and knocked right out. So a clear opportunity still. The Marauders maintain possession, continuing to apply pressure to Northern State as UMary in search of goal number 2 to try and put an exclamation point here on the first half.
And that turnover right there, nothing to do with the win. That is just UMary playing some great soccer, and they keep it up. Very nicely done.
There's a foot race there at the end. Charles versus Smith. It wound up going the way of Northern State. Again, just clearing for their lives, very much on their back heel. Run far side. The pass comes a step later than I think the Marauders would like it, running themselves into some defensive pressure. And it sets up a counter opportunity. Looking downfield for Colesso again. That has been the Northern MO all day. Try and get it near mid-pitch and force that ball down the field to your talented freshman out of West Broward High School. For now, that result has not shown as it goes beyond the back line, and another corner for the Marauders.
And Corey, that last look to her was just simply desperation. I mean, they finally got the ball out of the kitchen. She was surrounded by 4 Marauders. If that ball's right on her foot, she's going to lose it quickly. But like you said, there's just been no other option so far because of how well UMary's been playing.
Jade Smith from the near corner this time. Keeps it relatively low lying. That's going to be the answer today. But it is knocked straight up and beyond the net. A goal kick for Northern. And we'll see exactly what Tori Thorpe and Justine Charles want to do with this opportunity. Obviously, your natural instinct, like you said, Brian, is a grounded pass, but the problem is if that gets intercepted, it goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Thorpe changes corners. She does boot it in the air. Marauders do a good job, and now a quality clear by Northern State. Getting it out of their offensive third, working it all the way down the field to Colesso. That'll remain with the Marauders, but that's okay for Northern. They just need a chance for their back line to collect its breath. Instead, UMary says, hold on. They bring the pressure again. It was passed off the wrong foot there by Jade Smith.
Not a great touch, but you look at what UMary's been doing. What makes it more impressive, Corey, they have 4 back. They're not pulling everybody up. They are just outworking Northern State right now.
They trust their defense. They'll keep those numbers back, as you alluded to. Making sure to deny the counterattack opportunity that's been the modus operandi of Northern State. Here in a game brought to us by Farmers Union Insurance, as well as Dakota Community Bank and Trust, the North Dakota Firefighters Association, and the University of Mary. Grounded pass into the box, chase given by Caitlin Cathy, but nothing there for Caitlin, and it just goes beyond touch over on the far side.
And there's an instance right there of Cathy working harder than anybody in a red jersey. That could have been an easy clear for Northern State. Instead, it turns into a throw-in for the Marauders.
That pass is well behind a sprinting Cheyenne Rosselli, and so far we have not heard very much from the sophomore out of Corona, California. The leading offensive threat for Northern State, but they simply haven't generated any offense. A smothering effort for UMary here in the early going, about halfway through the opening stanza.
It will be interesting to see, Corey, is what happens at halftime. How much of this is the wind and how much of it is UMary. I'm guessing right now it's about 70-30, the 70 being the work that the Marauders are doing.
For Northern State, it's a veteran coaching staff. They've had the exact same head coach since the program began in 1998. Coach Kem has had 4 all-conference players last year en route to the NSIC tournament. Also the director of coaching for the Olympic Development Program in the Dakotas. So he knows a little bit about North Dakota soccer. And he's getting a taste of it right now, both from Mother Nature here in North Dakota and plenty of Peace Garden State-born players on the Marauders' side. Pushed forward and a touch here. Yankee going to work. And just shoved off the ball. Outstanding tackling remaining a key cog of the UMary side. That time it was Josephine Dahlberg, who has differentiating strike in this game and some really good defensive plays as well. Header on, but no problem off the head of Megan Lowry.
That's an athletic play. She made it look pretty easy. Was able to steer that on net, force a save. And anything you can put on net in this weather is a good decision. That ball will not just be affected getting pushed quicker by the wind, it can start knuckling all kinds of wild things.
For the Marauders, playing with the wind at their back, no stranger to this program, and they made a national mark a few years ago. The game began, they dropped the ball, and the Marauders knew they had the wind at their back, so Megan Searson took a shot and she scored. It's the NCAA record for fastest goal at 3 seconds into the game.
A home field advantage.
Something like that. Right now, it has paid dividends once again for the Marauders, as their midfield play and these howling gusts have kept Northern State exceptionally limited here in the early going. Played right back. Justine Charles will pick it right up. Senior netminder has been tested often today. She's been up to the task with one exception. And I'm not sure there was anything that could have been done on a brilliant header.
See, Corey, there I don't understand. Why kick that ball? You got 2 attackers up. Defense are outnumbering them pretty heavily. Have somebody run to an edge, roll it, and work the ball out. And instead, they decide to boot it, test the wind again, and it comes right to a Marauder. And now UMary is going to have a throw-in from deep in Northern State territory.
I think it's a testament of respect to the physicality the Marauders have displayed early on. When it's been a one-on-one matchup, UMary has produced the tackle more often than not. Northern State has not really been able to withstand those looks. Cross in. That time the wind hurts the Marauders. Still a shot on. Second chance. Trying to keep it on the foot, but it's right at Justine Charles. Lowry had a clean look there, but she was unable to fully settle the ball before Northern State swarmed to her. There you see it. She gets one touch on. Good job. Maybe if she could have taken one more, she could have had a chance. Although it's tough at that angle, you almost have to put it in the air, and the second you do that, you essentially get rid of all control you've had. Northern now pushing it into midfield for the first time in a while, using the full width of the pitch, and that's a great idea, trying to minimize some of the speed the Marauders have displayed today. Still, UMary gets a chance, though it'll go by the wayside. Kalen was able to corral that one, and so a throw from the far side for Northern State. For Northern, 6 seniors on the roster, 4 key departures last year, but still a very young team, as we showed you. Some of the leading offense coming from Cheyenne Rosselli, just a sophomore. It's going to be a continual growth pattern for this Northern State team. Still, a disappointing season at the very least in terms of preseason expectations. Picked to be a playoff team, 7th in the preseason poll, and they will miss the Northern Sun tournament, whereas UMary will head. Essentially, these two teams having the season that the other expected.
Catherine Hickey did a nice job there getting back and breaking that rush up. Talked a lot about how Northern State appears to be really feeling the heat, not moving as quickly in their defensive end as they should. Well, that was a great example of her getting back. Product of Torrance, California. Town that put a really good baseball team into the Babe Ruth World Series that we covered last year.
Connection points all over the field as Emma Davies checks in, the freshman from Bloomington, Minnesota. Connection point there is, well, we drove through it once on the way to Minneapolis.
Been there.
Goal kick will come for Northern State. It is knocked down. Megan Lowry plays it perfectly. Knuckler beyond the back line, and Northern's going to do it all over again. It's a bit of deja vu for the Wolves. Justine Charles still under constant siege and consistently rolling the ball to Tori Thorpe for the goal kicks.
I tell you, he's going to have a tough day today as these kids in charge of shagging these balls and they get behind the line. Those things are taking off.
Getting a good workout today. There, Tori does a really good job of keeping it low lying. Still a chance. Emma Davies just on, unable to settle that ball. Now here comes a clean counterattack look for Northern. Pushing it all the way to the full width. Good retention of the ball on the far side. That is Cheyenne Rosselli flexing that stick. Still, Marauders win out.
And it was Hannah Richter again who, anytime Northern State is getting something up the field, it is on that far side. That is where she has been, and she has continued to say no. It'll be interesting to see. We haven't seen Northern State make a ton of adjustments if they decide to shift their exit to the near side of the field and test somebody else.
Sure. Although the middle part of that Mary back row perhaps even stronger than it can be at the width. Trying to get that ball straight through. Second opportunity, defense continuing to stand tall for Northern. The Marauders continuing to dominate possession, particularly in the offensive third, but less clean chances than they had in the early going. Still, they have the one that matters at a 1-0 lead here on the BEK Broadcasting Network, celebrating its 11th year, bring high school, collegiate, professional athletics to the viewers of North Dakota. A big thank you to the people and businesses that make it possible. Today, those people are Brian, along with Ross and Noah, our group just down the road from here, Jared and Cole.
Good stop there by Tiffany Olhauser. That had the potential to be the best look of the day, I think, for Northern. He carrying the ball out at Schumacher, and she had gotten behind a defender for UMary. It was going to be a foot race, but play was halted before it could start.
Carly Harney will check in. The junior for Northern State enters play. The captain, Shintafer, running at the middle of the pitch as it goes wide, intended for Rosselli. And the Marauders once again do not let a possession get past the middle of the field. Header on, well struck. Looking for a centering feed. Marauders have their chance once again. Run through denied. Good body up by Allison Bird. Just to knock that ball down. Run through to it, Rosselli. Charges right down that far line, and it'll just spin out of play and a throw for the Marauders. Trying to head that one in the general direction of the box. The turn, not there. Goes beyond back line for a goal kick. For UMary, as a part of continuing their form is the outstanding coaching of Sarah Cook, of course, playing here at the University of Mary. A Region Player of the Year, a 3-time All-American, and a 2-time University of Mary graduate. Also coaching in town here at Century, so she can get some of the best talent in the capital city here in the Peace Garden State, as well as from abroad. And has coached a number of all NSIC players and all academic players here for the Marauders, now having one of their best seasons in a while, certainly since 2012.
And there's some real benefit of coming into a program you're so familiar with, an area you're so familiar with. That ball will go wide of the cage. You know what works and you know what hasn't worked from being a player, so you're able to adjust some of those things, continue what's going so well for you. And recruiting, it helps a lot because you've been in the position that these players are going to be in if they decide to come and join your team.
Tori Thorpe will send it away once again. Right at the head of a waiting Marauder. Ball comes to midfield. Good run through. But a first touch that had a little bit too much of strength on it for Allison Bird. Sent towards the box, sprint on. Haley tries to run it down, and she does. Kaylin going to work on the outside. Marauders once again with a cross into the box. No header forthcoming. That one had too much gas. Now sent back in the general direction of the cage, but over the head and crossbar of the netminder, Justine Charles.
We were here on Friday night, speaking of Century High School, and watched the Patriots pick up a big win versus Fargo Davies to advance. And in that football game, kicking actually became the most important aspect at the end. It was a late field goal, 37-yarder for the win for Century, and we will have them back on the BEK Broadcasting Network this Friday as they have a great challenge coming here to the Bowl in Minot High, the state semifinals.
Football on the mind, as in the ball that is played with your foot for both the high school guys and now the collegiate women here for the Marauders. They will get a deep throw with a sub checking in for UMary. Trying to capitalize on what has absolutely been an advantageous first half.
Now, it'd be nice to comment on some of the defensive work UMary has done, but they just haven't had to do any, aside from a couple pinches from their back line, and that has really been about it. We have talked once or twice about Hannah Richter, the work she has done, Emma Davies. They have prevented anything from developing, but boy, it has just been an offensive showcase so far.
They will once again be called upon. Will that Marauder back line? Caitlin Dooley is right there. Speaking of talent from abroad, the junior from England manages to make the play and maintain the possession for UMary. Of course, across the pond, speaking of teams on the gridiron, where the Vikings picked up a big win today over the Cleveland Browns. A game that in some ways resembled this one. You have one team in the Vikings who are kind of like UMary, as that one is bobbled initially by Justine Charles, but recovered, playing to try and find themselves in the postseason. The Vikings haven't clinched a playoff spot by any means, but trying to find themselves in the right spot, nearing the midway point in their case, where you have a team in Cleveland who will miss the postseason, just like Northern State.
Well, and that clear there, I've made the point that I think Northern State should evaluate their exit strategy, but just a simple look there by Charles. There are Marauders everywhere on the far side of the field. Here on the near side, there is space to be worked with. That was not in the arsenal, though, on that clearance.
Wolves trying to force that into their offensive third, unable to do so. Advantage played for the Marauders. Some more physical play. Again, no whistle forthcoming. This time they'll say it was ball first. That's all that matters. Players can hit the floor, and you can try and draw the foul if you so choose. But nevertheless, if you get the ball first, you're all right, most of the time.
What an adjustment this will be for both teams at halftime. I mean, it's going to be like a new game for each of them.
That one is in towards juicy rebound, but nothing there as it is bounced beyond touch. Last touched by Cheyenne Rosselli.
And for the amount of time that UMary has had possession of this soccer ball, they have not had a ton of shots. They've had plenty, and make no mistake, they dominated, but wouldn't mind seeing a few more of those. We've seen a couple in the last 3 or 4 minutes. You're outside. We saw one flying from about halfway to midfield. Just put shots on net, force Charles to make some saves. It's really an odds game. When you have wild elements like this, put things on net, good things will happen.
Yeah, you certainly never complain when you're on the board and you've had your breakthrough, but I think you're right. If you ask Coach Cook, your ideal outcome, recognizing just how this pace of play has flown, she'd say, yeah, I think we'd like to be up too. Still time for that, though. With 6:11 to go, the Marauders lead at 1-0 here at home, trying to lock up the 5th spot in the NSIC regular season standings. Brilliant flick through, leads to a cross, header on. That's what you wanted for UMary, but it will go too strong.
What a job by Emma Davies down the right wing side. The Meg to get there, a perfect cross, and that's one that will be seen in nightmares a couple times. That is as good of a chance as you can have to put one home off the noggin.
I would say that pass, perhaps even better than the long cross in off the corner that produced our first goal today. Marauders' best opportunity goes by the wayside. Nevertheless, they keep playing like this, they'll produce more of those. That time trying to get the through ball worked into Emma Davies, creating a shot on for her, but it had too much. And it finds Charles, who just boots it away. At this point, Justine Charles content to just send that thing out of play. Give the Marauders a throw in, but not a chance to push forward initially off of the clear. That's enough, recognizing that in 4 minutes and 57 seconds, the wind will flip. As that one goes from one end of the pitch to the other, all the way back down to the near side. And a throw in for Alexis Lewis, one of the new subs on for Northern. Right back to her on the return. Scrum for it remains with UMary. Tiffany Olhauser with a throw in, and she has eyes for the box. Leaves it short for Kylie Welch, another one of the subs on, this time for the Marauders. Enters mid-pitch and will go out of play. UMary not wasting any time on the throw. Continuing to try and push their advantage in set pieces and quality chances. Sent towards the box, nothing doing.
There's been some serious struggle with some of these headers. You know, when you go to head a ball, you kind of lose your eyes to an extent. You have to see where it is and then trust you'll know the track it'll follow because you're putting it at the top of your head and you can't look up there. We've seen some players line up and think they have it. They go up for it and the wind will push it 3 yards to their left or right.
You almost have to fight your natural instincts in this game. You've played this game at an exceptionally high level to find yourself here in the NCAA ranks, and now those instincts can betray you at least a little bit in terms of, as you said, the direction of the ball here amidst the howling wind, though these are two teams that are relatively used to it. Aberdeen and Bismarck tend to be pretty windy as a matter of course. Final 3 minutes of play. Northern unable to establish any possession in their offensive third. A good run up to the ball just to prevent what could have been a devastating UMary counterattack. Now here they come again. Good ball directed downfield, popped right back up to an onside Megan Lowry. Lowry touches it on, and a diving lunge by Justine Charles.
And Lowry's frustrated. She could feel the pressure coming, so she tried to kick that ball off the hop and just did not line it up. Led to the easy save for Charles, and a good chance at the end goes by the wayside. And boy, you got to start to give some credit to Northern State here. They have not played very well, but they have kept this at a 1-0 game, and they are going to have the wind on their side in the second half. They have kept themselves in it.
All you can ask following the relatively early strike in this game. Dahlberg and company did not take long to push that ball across the goal line. Nice tackle to maintain possession for the Marauders. That's good defensive work by Emma Davies, who since coming on has been one of the top graded players for UMary, without a doubt. Northern trying to push that ball through the middle of the field. That has been a closed road all day. Hannah Richter manages to force a turnover at mid-pitch. They just boot it deep. Onside, cleaned up. The UMary backline rallies. Deepest possession by a long ways for Northern as Richter continues to fight, and she will win out. Emma Davies, as we talk about her brilliant defensive contributions, she has been the most successful Marauder as of late. A goal in 3 straight games. And it's easy to see why when you see her provide a real spark for UMary. It hasn't resulted in a goal as of yet, but her ability has drastically affected the pace of play that has remained heavily in favor of the Marauders. Good idea to just try and flick that forward by Emma Davies, but it goes wide for a touch here in the final minute of half number 1.
I'd like to see UMary pull some pressure up here. They're still keeping 4 or 5 back. See if you can get Northern State getting off the field before the buzzer sounds. Take advantage. It would be huge to find a late score, but Northern State's probably just going to be able to bleed it out after that ball goes out behind the goal line.
They'll take their sweet time. Will Torrey Thorpe and company, recognizing that this kick will in all likelihood find a Marauder, as it has more often than not today. Sure enough, one last possession with 15 seconds left. Into the box. A whistle comes from that far side.
We'll have a free kick.
Here in the final 10 seconds, it will be a free kick.
Running out of time.
Marauders have to get it off quick. They set it up at the 20. Cross comes into the box, and it is punched out. The buzzer sounds just beforehand. The difference between professional and collegiate soccer shows itself right there. Still the Marauders on top 1-0 after a picture-perfect first half. 1-0 as the Marauders flag flies high indeed here at the halftime. It is 1-0 UMary. They strike early. That is the difference in our ball game on a free kick crossed into the box. And that's where we sit at 1-0. But despite that, Brian, the scoreboard does not tell the full story, as it so often doesn't in a soccer game. That first half was all orange and blue.
It was as dominant a 1-0 half as you can have. They outshot Northern State 18-1. 6 of those shots were on goal. The one given to Northern State was very generous. It was hardly a shot. Everything went well for the Marauders, but everything was on their side. There you can see the wind wreaking havoc. Doesn't matter if the ball is in the air or on the turf. That will not be on their side in half number 2. We will switch ends, and that will be the interesting thing, is how they can adjust, how that will affect Northern State. And I think UMary should almost be a little concerned that it's only 1-0, because that win could lead to a break here, a break there. Northern State, they're going to be hungry coming out of that locker room. You know they are very frustrated by how that half went, but as far as the first 45 minutes of soccer, it was very well put together by the University of Mary. As was that wind montage. A big thank you to Jared and Cole back at the studio for showcasing exactly what that first half looked like. We'll take another timeout here from the MDU Resource Community Bowl. Continue to break down half number 1 and start half number 2 when we get back. 1-0, the University of Mary Marauders on top of the Wolves of Northern State. As we welcome you back into the Farmers Union Insurance Halftime Report. Remember, buying insurance should be more about getting it right than doing it fast. Farmers Union Insurance
is simply different. You've gotten to see all the elements here today at the MDU Resources Community Bowl, and you get to do so in high definition because of our friends at Piper's Auction and Realty. Be sure to check out their new location in Steele, North Dakota. There's a big thank you to our friends at Piper's, enabling us to give you the full length and width of the pitch in high definition here at the MDU Resources Community Bowl. And Brian, as both teams come out and get ready for half number 2, I think at times in sports we overemphasize the importance of halftime adjustments. There's not that much that changes. In this game, as we flip sides, there are some very real and concrete changes that are coming for half number 2.
Yeah, there certainly are, and we'll get to see how much of that first half was the Marauders, showing that they are a 10-4-2 team that's headed to the postseason, and how much was them just taking advantage of the fact that Northern State couldn't clear the ball because it is so darn windy today here in the state's capital. I really do think after that half, you know, you never want to be the team trailing, but Northern State had to be feeling good. They could say, you know what, we did not play great. Everything was going against us. It's 1-0. Let's go out there and get a goal, level the playing field once again, and then try and pour it on this UMary team and get a win to end our season. It's not been a great season, but you got a chance here to go out on a high note.
Again, for this Northern team, it's about playing spoiler. They will not make the NSIC postseason tournament, but this is a young team and a lot of sophomore, junior, freshman talent who, as you said, if you create that note of positivity for your offseason, you bolster your growth that much more. Meanwhile, for the Marauders, they're looking to try and take a winning streak into the postseason tournament. They will be on the road for their first game. We don't know where. Might be Minot State. Might not be. Depends how all the results shake out today. In that graphic we showed you earlier, the Northern Sun very much in flex. Some really, really outstanding teams. And UMary trying to count themselves amongst that rank. For now, they lead at 1-0 here at home on BEK Prime. Happy to have you along. Corey Brooks alongside Brian Rothenberger, Noah Reed, and Ross Kohlhaas running our cameras here at the MDU Resources Community Bowl. Cole, well, let's go. Along with Jared Calvert back at the BEK Studios right here on the campus of the University of Mary, who brings us today's game along with Farmers Union Insurance and North Dakota Firefighters Association and Dakota Community Bank and Trust. Northern State touched up first in half number 1, and so the Marauders, with the edge already in the game, get set to kick off half number 2 here at home.
How many times in a soccer game have you seen a player have to hold the ball on the opening kick?
Yeah.
Or the official come over to keep his foot on it. Make sure it doesn't roll all the way down to start this game.
Also, you see Megan Lowry trying to re-warm up. She looks cold.
Yeah, there are a few players out right now that, you know, you come out here, you warm up before the game, you're feeling good through the half, you go into that locker room, you sit down, your body temperature drops a little bit, and you get back out. Yep. Holy cow, it's chilly out here.
Yeah, once you get running, you'll be all right. But here at the start, we'll see, I think, exactly what we saw in half number 1 to open things up, which is each team kind of going through that feeling out process. Hannah Richter comes it off on the near side. UMary looking for some tic-tac-toe passing. There you see one of the best in-air passes today.
Yeah.
Delivered on a strike, but it comes right off the back of Tori Thorpe. And so far, the opening possession mostly with Northern State. And they will maintain for a throw. There you see a close-up of Cheyenne Rosselli, limiting her and keeping her very quiet. One of the notches in the armor for UMary in half number 1. The sophomore out of Corona, California, having an absolutely outstanding year for Northern. We showcased her for you in our Choice Financial Player matchup. Outstanding last year, making 10 starts as a freshman. Scored 6 goals on 15 shots. Scoring a goal nearly every other time she took a shot. That's pretty good.
That's incredible, man. A good job by UMary to hold a player like that, and a whole team really in Northern State very quiet in that first half of soccer. But we're already seeing here at the very beginning, though no real chances have materialized for Northern State, the play has been to our right once again. Well, this time the ends are flipped.
Right.
And it's going to take Northern State some time to play a whole half of soccer and not get a chance to set up an offensive play. You're going to be out of rhythm, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long that will take them may determine the time it is before we see our first quality chance.
Our first goal kick of the day for UMary comes 2 minutes into half number 2. That speaks volumes right there. Either way, it is with the Marauders, who are able to capitalize a possession on the goal kick, and now here comes a quality run. It's Jade Smith working it down the field. Centering feed is there. Good try to knock it down. The defense there. Second chance, just a bit high.
And there the Marauders really drive home the point that we were trying to make sure we did not cover up. Even though the wind was helping UMary, they are the better soccer team here today. And it all started with that goal kick. You bring in an alternate player to make sure that ball gets where it needs to go. You work it up the field using your speed. A nice pass inside, off a foot. Quality chance for the Marauders. And a nice start for them here in the second half.
And once again, the University of Mary emphasizing the point, they could have mailed it in today. Recognizing they already clinched their playoff spot. They did that a few days ago. They have not. You've seen them get end-to-end with authority in this ball game. It's resulted in an impressive effort that sees them up 1-0 and looking for more. Run over on the far side. It was a brilliant first touch, but simply too many numbers there for Northern. Sydney Shintafer was there to deny it. But what you're seeing is UMary still dominating on-ball possession, Brian. Left side or right, it hasn't mattered. And that is something that never happened for Northern. A ball just rolled out and to the foot of Hannah Richter.
And it makes sense. Of course, the second kick gets intercepted, but you see, no one in this game has really been pressing the keepers. No one has. They've given space. And when you have that space, when your defenders come back, you can roll it right to them. We saw countless turnovers by Northern State off of goal kicks. UMary recognizing that they do not want to do that. They roll it out, and they are able to get the ball across midfield.
UMary backline still standing strong here. Not allowing any deep runs. Here comes an attempt. Cross in, but nothing doing for Northern. Scrum in the middle of the field continues. Right idea. Trying to find Cheyenne Rosselli, getting the talented number 16 involved. As for the first time today, the sun shines here at the MDU Resources Community Bowl.
Well, those fans on the far side are appreciating that.
I think the players are too.
Man.
As the UMary regular season comes to an end, the sun shines on this program. Having their best campaign in nearly half a decade. They don't plan on being done anytime soon. As they, assuming this result holds, will be the top road team in the opening round of the NSIC tournament. Northern tried to settle that ball down right near midfield, unable to do so, so a throw for UMary. Just another of the categories they have dominated. Many more throws. Corners have been the exclusive domain of the Marauders. Free kicks, shots, everything going to the orange and blue. Once again, Northern in the early stages of the half, just trying to work it downfield, and it results in some suicide passes for Tori Colesso. Simply has no option. You maintain possession, you send it down, and it doesn't go anywhere. Colesso made a good move, but a whistle will come and settle the action.
That's a good whistle there. A little too much physicality. We have not had a lot of stops in this game today.
Nope.
It's flowed pretty nicely. But as Northern State starts to get really their first rushes of this game, UMary doing a nice job defensively, keeping everything to the sidelines. There is not a lot of space up the middle for the Wolves.
Hesitation on the goal kick. Sometimes that's part of the move. Sometimes you just have to adjust the ball. And now UMary will get a bit of a taste of what happened in Northern. As the wind just rebuffs that ball. It gets about 20 yards out of the box, then has a tendency to dovetail.
I like the decision, too, by Coach Cook, not just rolling out a few to make sure the turnover doesn't happen, at least as quickly. But bringing back Olhauser to kick. Let's put our strongest leg there to send that ball out. Do everything we can to make sure these kicks go as smooth as possible.
Olhauser, part of the youth movement of the Marauders. You look at the average age here for UMary, a little bit higher than Northern, but not by that much. You're seeing a lot of underclassmen and junior contributors to this University of Mary team. So youth combines with experience and skill. As good a season as UMary has had, there's no reason they can't repeat it next year. Great first touch on the square pass to set it up. But Northern manages to get numbers back, denying the initial Mary counterattack. Booted deep, but right to the waiting Marauders. And they say battle for it. Mary will watch it go out for a touch. Let's take a look at our keys to the game, brought to us by Pinky Homes. Remind you can get the keys to your new custom-built home from Pinky Homes, a family business dedicated to building your next family home. For Northern State, it's been about forgetting the season so far and just getting in the element and playing today. For UMary, their key coming into the day was stay in it. Even though they have that spot clinched, even though it can be easy to fall into a malaise, they had to remain locked in. And so far, Brian, the Northern State squad has not seemed like they've been able to just remain in this game. UMary, though, looks like they're playing with nothing to lose.
Yeah, I'd say the team that has heeded the warning on the key to the game has succeeded, and that's UMary. Even though it's 1-0, this is not a close 1-0 game, if you will. Everything has gone right for UMary. They continue to play very well, and they have been engaged in this game. There has been no lack of effort from the word go.
The win over MSUM, securing that playoff spot for the Marauders, but not slowing their form by any means. Looking to get to 8-2-1 in their last 11 games. As good as you can be playing come tournament time. I don't think anybody will be looking for a date with the University of Mary come the NSIC tournament, even though it may be at home. This team is playing as good as anyone in the conference and have the best record over their last 10 games. Mary trying to push forward for a counter. Kalen was right there, but it just careens off to the left side and will stay with Northern.
And what we're seeing UMary do, they are holding a better line than Northern State was able to do. Yes, play has been focused on the right side of the field as a rush develops.
It's a great ball down the field by Richter. It set up Emma Davies, who did not get a first clean touch. That enabled Northern to rally to the ball. And that attack will go by the wayside as Northern pushes it back to mid-pitch. The momentum of Mary initially halted. Jade Smith gets her cross in. Northern denies once again. Still, though, with wind or without, UMary is looking exactly the same, playing their hometown perfectly. Run into the box, angled shot, doesn't have quite enough bend to it. Goes beyond back line for a kick for Justine Charles and Tori Thorpe.
To finish that thought from earlier, what UMary is doing in their defensive half when Northern State comes in, they are just flocking to the ball when it gets about 20 yards out ahead of the top of the box, and they are preventing any further entry. And Northern State was not able to do that. They were letting UMary come in and set up wherever they pleased as a well-deserved whistle comes, and that's the first opportunity, I think, for a card to be pulled.
It will result in a stern talking to, but no card. Perhaps a bit of frustration on the part of the sophomore Cheyenne Rosselli. But she was very much in pursuit of that ball, recognizing that despite the pace of play, it is still just 1-0, and all it takes is one Marauder mistake, and we're back to even. Rosselli again applying good pressure from the back. Still Mary, as you said, Brian, maintains their form perfectly. Right place, right time. Not relinquishing that possession yet. All the way to the back, UMary backline tested. As we said at the entry to this broadcast, it is one of the NSIC's top backlines. They've proven that over these last few games, led by their netminder in Hannah Smith, who has only had the one shot, in quotes, to really contend with today. Nevertheless, she's had an outstanding day in terms of directing the defense, and that's the unspoken part of a goalie's job, Brian, that doesn't go into the stat sheet, is you really are the captain of the defense back there with the best vantage point.
And you have to be very vocal, and I think that is something Northern State was not able to do as a defensive unit, keeper included, in that first half, was communicate the best way to alleviate some pressure and protect the ball more. And that being said, UMary couldn't really take advantage of that. Even though they had the ball on their foot so much in the first 45, they only turned 6 shots on net, 1 got behind. And really at this point it looks like it won't matter because UMary is just playing that well today. Their structure has been rock solid. They are keeping the attack on. This has been an even half so far. Better chances for UMary, maybe a little more zone time for Northern State, but the way the wind's blowing, that in itself is a victory for UMary.
You understand and appreciate the idea by Tori Colesso as that one goes wide for a touch to UMary. Too many touches there, though, and allowed the Mary defense to collapse. Hannah Smith, they call her the Golden Keeper out of the Golden State, the transfer from Sacramento, California. Watches on now as this is right by her net. Throw in comes, both teams pointing both ways. It'll be a throw for Desiree Ferris and Northern. A reminder, coming up later this week, we are right back here at UMary for more NSIC action, this time on the hardwood as the volleyball team of the Marauders takes the floor. Very young group there as well. Against the Beavers of Minot State. That'll be coming your way Tuesday night. We will have plenty of UMary action coming up this season. Got that volleyball game, a whole lot of men's and women's basketball, and we'll get some action from the Diamond as well.
Boy, and a big mistake there by Hannah Richter. She let that ball roll behind the line. She thought that was off of a Wolf. It was not. It was off of a Marauder. So a corner kick just wrapped up and gifted to Northern State here at 30 left.
They play it short, though. Sent into the box and well wide. So the University of Mary edge in set pieces remains true. Northern elects to go with the quick pass, not take the cross in off the corner. That can be an effective surprise weapon, but the lateral quickness of the Marauders, too much to account for that time. And now they get an opportunity for a clear off of a goal kick.
Yeah, Corey, there for Northern State, I think you need to consider putting that ball out in front just because they have had such a hard time getting anywhere close to the net so far today.
Trying to bend it to an onside Jade Smith. Smith runs at it. A good charge and a necessary one by Justine Charles. Jade Smith continuing to apply a ton of pressure. The junior out of Rochester, England, the leading goal scorer with 5 on the day coming in. Some more physical play, no whistle forthcoming. You see some frustration for UMary's other leading goal scorer. Jade having a better season here as a part of her junior campaign. Just 1 goal last year. It came against USF. But playing a ton of games. 17 in her freshman year, 14 last year. Jade Smith has become a fixture of the fixtures for UMary. From the West Ham Ladies Football Club out of England.
And we are really now starting to see some frustration from Northern State. I think they expected for things to happen a little bit easier after that halftime buzzer, and they have just been out of sync on offense. Their touches are going one way when they're expected to be received on the other. Plenty of time left, though. Just under 30 minutes remain.
For Northern, as we told you with this young squad, the 4 seniors last year were difference makers, including Anna Bondi, an all-conference player who holds a few different records at Northern State. And even though, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of players on a soccer pitch at any given time, when you lose a game changer like that, as that's right at Smith, no problem, it can make a huge difference. As we talk about, speaking of the communication of your defensive leader and your netminder, when you lose a midi like Bondi, who's one of the best you've ever had in program history, it can result in sometimes something like this.
certainly can. And I mean, make no mistake, this is, college athletics. Shoes have to be filled, but you're going to see change, and you're going to see drop-off when you lose certain individuals. The job that UMary has done to, as a team, I think, take another step this season, despite being so young, is something that can cover that up.
Meanwhile, for UMary on the roster this year, just 3 seniors. The only one receiving regular minutes today, the netminder Hannah Smith. Obviously, that's going to be tough to replace, but only departing 3 players. That sets you up well for the future. Their leadership mostly in this junior class. Nearly halfway through. Here in half number 2. As the University of Mary continues to put on a show and deliver a warning to teams in the NSIC. We are here to play. Good quick toe tap sets up a chance for UMary to push the ball down the field, but not a ton to be had. Here in a game brought to us by the North Dakota Firefighters Association, Dakota Community Bank and Trust, Farmers Union Insurance, and, well, the University of Mary. That one touched up, gets all the way to the back line. I think if Cassidy Pierce could have had that one back, she would have gotten a touch on it. Instead, it goes to Hannah Smith, but it's no problem for the senior.
And here comes some pressure from Northern State, and you had to wonder how long it was going to be before they really cranked it up, start pulling some defenders forward, start pulling some midfielders forward. They just cannot get anything going on offense, and cranking up the heat a little bit like we saw right there is going to start happening. I think we see now.
Yep.
It's right around 25 to go.
Still, of course, a ton of time, but you have to make those adjustments earlier and earlier, particularly in a game that has flown like today. Whistle comes, UMary respectfully disagreeing. Nevertheless, this ball will remain with Northern as they get a free kick on this side of midfield.
Got a busy week coming up on BEK. We have district volleyball starting tomorrow. As Corey mentioned, UMary volleyball on Tuesday, along with some University of Jamestown action. VCSU going to be on Wednesday. This shot will be spun in and managed. 4 district tournament action Thursday, that's District 6. District 5 is Monday, Friday. Bison volleyball, and as we mentioned, 3A playoffs from right here in Bismarck. It'll be Minot High and Century, what is shaping up to be a really good game. We'll have St. Mary's here at the Bowl versus Devil's Lake on Saturday, and a pair of hockey games for Minot Saturday night. Minot State, the #1 team in the ACHA, takes on Utah, and the Minot Minotauros will go at it with the Aberdeen Wings. That did not feel good.
They will bring the training staff on. The physicality ramped up. It started with a really good sliding tackle. One of the first we've seen today.
Right off the
dome. That ball
dome.
just poorly timed. And they will go safety first and make sure that everyone involved is all right. Seems that is very much the case. Okay, everybody resituated. Positioned up for the drop and shot on. Sportsmanship displayed by Northern State as they got the possession after the whistle, but it would have gone to UMary. So you just see them drop it and send it off. The injury sportsmanship of a game where the clock never stops. That is fortunately so for Northern, as if that clock had another 5 seconds or so on it in that first half, we might be sitting at 2-0.
It would be a 2-0 game. That was a bad break for UMary after really dominating the half. It came down to the final 5 seconds, and things just did not go their way.
Ariana Pomgani will check in for the Marauders, a sophomore, speaking of the youth, for this UMary team. She checks in for the first time today. We've also seen her fellow sophomore right next to her on the roster, in Kylie Welch, from right here in Bismarck, another Century grad. The other North Dakota school represented on this UMary roster, the Eagles of Fargo Davies. Corey Duffield, the freshman from Fargo, North Dakota. Other than that, it's all Century and St. Mary's. Alex Hudson-Buehler from the home of the Saints. Free kick from the far side. Grounded. No chance. UMary read it perfectly. Hannah Richter has been a defensive stalwart for the Marauders today. Move down the line. Jade Smith has to stay onside. She does. UMary could not find the turn and pass on the deep shot, and now it'll come to Tori Colesso, who sends it forward. Backline tested, but it will remain out of play, and a chance for UMary to get back in full. Cassidy Pierce with a necessary clear, as for the maybe first time today, Northern State had numbers down the field.
Corey, I think what we've seen today is really the UMary team that really got off to a good start defensively but couldn't find their offensive footing. I think what we talked about in the open, what's really put them over the top into being not just a team around 500, but to a 10-win team, maybe an 11-win team after today, was being able to turn a couple more of those opportunities into goals. And I think as the postseason comes upon this UMary soccer team, what will determine how far they can go is their offense.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've shown today they can quiet down, and they've shown all season, really, any team. They are not going to get into shootouts. But, you know, in a game like this, where they have dominated, they have not scored a lot of goals. And a break here, a break there could mean this game could be tied, and the tie game, who knows what happened. But you certainly see the ability for this UMary team to compete with just about anybody they face.
Very much so, and we talk about it in the early stages today. This is a Mary team that's top 5 in the conference in goals scored and goals against. Now they've got a chance to get into that offensive category. Whistle comes. Mary's going to get a chance from outside the box to try and originate some of that offense. You know the defense is going to be there. It's a back line that is tried and true, but as you said, it'll come down to the offense that'll make the biggest difference for the Marauders. And in fact, this is going to be a penalty kick for UMary.
Wow.
So a very real chance to generate some offense. It's going to be Kaylin Cathy. 2 penalty kick attempts on the year, 2 goals. So the official points to the spot. Thought he signaled outside, and now just outside that netminder's box is where it'll come. Kick on, and it will find its way in. Third time still holds true. It's Kaylin Cathy. Her 3rd penalty kick goal of the year. Her 6th goal of the year. Near the points lead for UMary, and it's 2-0 on the penalty kick.
That was well done. Picked a corner, put it there. Good effort from Justine Charles. She got across to get a piece of it, but not enough. Trying to push that ball towards the post to get a bounce. Could not. 2-0. UMary leads, and boy, lots of time left, but the way this game has gone, that could certainly be it.
Now the Marauders certainly don't want to rest on their laurels, but they can force numbers back, and it'll continue to change the game plan for Northern, as they are just going to have to push up a whole bunch.
Yeah, we thought they had cranked up the heat a little bit, getting aggressive offensively before. Well, now they have to go guns a-blazing. Way ahead.
We've alluded a couple times today to our upcoming schedule. Got a chance to show that to you as we take a look at our look ahead, brought to us by JSI, John Star Locks Incorporated. Celebrating more than 50 years of balancing progress with perspective for communications providers. As we told you, the big one, if you're watching here in Bismarck, Minot State and Mary on the volleyball floor. We'll go at it on Tuesday. Some North Star volleyball coming up on Wednesday, something Coach Kem is very familiar with for Northern, a Jamestown grad himself, the head man for Northern State. And on Friday, it'll be some playoff action, along with Saturday, for some hockey as well. That is a look at what we have coming up right here on BEK Prime, brought to us by John Starlakis Incorporated. So Mary will take advantage of the throw in, looking for a cross. Running out of space. Good job to bring it back. Fighting along that back line, and a corner for the Marauders. Outstanding fight shown by Josephine Dahlberg, who has been the pivotal Marauder right now with the game differentiating strike. A good play there as well that'll send Jade Smith over to the far corner.
You have to really appreciate, and we talked about in the beginning of the game, especially after going up 2-0, Mary not turning it off.
Crossed into the box, but no problem for Sydney Shintaver. One of the seniors on this Northern team, one of 6, playing their final game, and doing so on the road here against the Marauders. Dumary in no hurry here for these throw-ins or anything going forward. With 19:30 to go in this half, they will be perfectly content with a 2-0 lead, though they still do have a chance for more. Just outside the netminder's box, last touched by Northern. So Mary will once again get a corner. Marauders continuing to dominate in that category, and shots as well. 19-2 in terms of total shots. Can Mary produce another one right here? Not initially. Still a chance on the back end for it, though. Patterson going after it. She's got it. She is tripped up from behind, and that'll be a foul.
That was a great move. I want to pull that ball back, slide between two gunners, trying to head the other way and forcing a whistle. Take another look here. You can see before when she split back.
Very good job by Elizabeth Patterson, one of the seniors on this Marauder team. The seniors all on that back line for you, Mary. Hudson Buehler can play the forward spot as well. For the Marauders, Jade Smith runs over it. Cross comes in on the back end. Way too much loft. Olhauser and company will get back. Mallory Schonard will check in, a freshman for Northern, as they get some of their younger players on a young team into the action here. A game that is still 2-0 Marauders here in the final 17:30. Happy to have you along in a game brought to us by Dakota Community Bank and Trust, along with Farmers Union Insurance, North Dakota Firefighters Association, and the University of Mary. Remember, you can get a copy of every single game we do here at the BEK Broadcasting Network on DVD by visiting our website at www.bechtel.com/BBN. As the Wolves continue to take more and more chances down the stretch here. The physicality is ramped up both ways. Colesso went down, the foul comes, and the boot forward for the Wolves. Right to a waiting Caitlin Dooley. Still one of the deepest moves of the day, as Colesso will check out for the first time today for Northern. Kaylee Schumacher will come in, giving Jade Smith some well-earned rest.
Yeah, and up 2-0 here. It'll be interesting to see if Coach Cook decides to pull a couple more of her attackers out, with the defense seeming flawless and not expecting them to really make another flaw. Just get the players some rest. Any minute off the field with the postseason on the horizon counts. You know, they have shown today, I think they are engaged. You know, and that would be the concern if you did not play any starters in a game like this. Well, as you lose some focus. This is a focused soccer team that has come out and played against a team in Northern State, not exactly the most exciting opponent, one that's completely out of it. UMary has done all they can to further their cause and put on a show doing so.
Also getting a little bit more defense-oriented here in the final stretch as you sub out the straight-up forward Jade Smith for the midi in Kaylee Schumacher. As the Marauders look to try and get some extra defensive personnel on, and now the leader of that defensive personnel, Hannah Smith, there to snag it. Kaylee Schumacher, a medical redshirt, her first year with the University of Mary. Second year playing in 11 games for a total of 233 minutes. While Kaylee was at Century, the team finished no lower than third, continuing an outstanding athletic tradition that we'll show you another piece of coming up this weekend on the football side. A foul will go against the Marauders, putting a stake into that attack. Northern going to once again try and push this thing down the field in a big way off the free kick. Harney looking for somebody deep. Instead, it continues to just find Marauder heads. The first goal came from just inside the attacking third, a cross into the box, and a beautiful pass that found Josephine Dahlberg. She used all of her 6-foot frame to cash in for the first. The second, a penalty kick, cashed in by UMary, Kaylin Cathy, the junior out of Billings, Montana. The official pointed to the spot. Mary said, "Thank you very much." Now the Marauders get another cross in, but it's diagnosed by Justine Charles. The Marauders still in search of that insurance policy on what is already a valuable asset, a 2-0 lead here in the final 13 minutes and 38 seconds.
And each of these counters, like the one UMary is putting together right now, further hurts Northern State. Now a chance for UMary. The Wolves hustle to get back.
This one will go right across the face of the goal. And even as UMary brings in some extra defensive personnel, their offensive onslaught remaining effective in a big way. A deep throw for Northern. Comes right to a waiting Richter on the UMary side. Again, as the standings currently sit in the Northern Sun, the Mavericks of MSU Mankato at 12-1-1. They are pacing this conference. Bemidji State has not lost on the year, but they do have 3 ties, 11-0-3. The Vikings of Augie, 10-1-3. Minot State, 10-3-1. And then UMary in that 5th spot. If Augie gets a win or a tie, they maintain that 3rd spot. And assuming UMary holds this result, the matchup becomes official. It'll be a North Dakota battle in the first round between the University of Mary and Minot State. The overall record of those two teams on the year separated by just 1 win. The University of Mary 10-4-2 overall. Minot State 11-4-2. The conference record a bit of a different story, but as we've seen, some of those results can be tightly contested in a big way. Minot State's form not exactly where it should be. You look back a couple days ago, they had a double overtime thriller with Northern State. In fact, 3 of Northern State's last 4 games have gone to extra time, and they've seen the full spectrum of results in those games. A loss, a win, and a tie in that order.
When Minot State and UMary met up in the regular season, it was a while ago, back on September 3rd. It was here in Bismarck, and UMary won 2-1. Of course, the scene will shift to Minot, but I think the Marauders would probably argue, as could the Beavers, that at that time they were not playing their best soccer and are a better team now, still able to get a win versus the Beavers. But a lot of things change in the postseason.
The Vikings of Augie up 3-0 in the 80th minute So they will get their win, which forces Minot into the 4th seed, and the University of Mary Marauders leading it 2-0 very late here in this. So we inch ever closer to the opening round for the University of Mary against Minot State. Fighting through a couple different defenders to try and make one last bid was Kaylee Schumacher. Fresh off the bench for UMary, and she shows it with those spry legs, but the Northern defense does enough. Deep throw in. Mary not necessarily looking to go forward, correctly so, spreading out that Northern defense. Cross comes in, good deflection on the way in, still in play for the Marauders, and cleared away.
Touch.
Mary has done a good job of utilizing the full width of the pitch today. Northern has tried to work it to that far side. You see a run over there now for Tori Colesso, but on balance, it has not resulted in much. That pass was just off for Cheyenne Rosselli. If that is angled a little bit more towards the net, it could have been a clean run on.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a yellow card here for Rosselli, who was close to getting one right in front of us at midfield. You see that push there. That's a very easy call to make, and frustration, as you said earlier, setting in. Can't believe there's any argument at all to be had from the Northern State coaching staff. That's as clear as day.
Didn't see much from Rosselli either. She knew it right away. About to begin her junior year of eligibility, as this is the final game for Northern no matter what. And that is our first yellow card of the day as well, in what has otherwise been an exceptionally clean game. Physicality, yes. Some fouls, sure. A penalty kick, yeah. But on balance,
yeah.
Marauders continue to work in some of the younger players. Taylor Pettigrew will come in. Coach Cook doing a good job of utilizing her full roster as well. In a good spot, as some of these younger Mary players go up against the faces they'll be seeing for a long time for Northern State. So make no mistake, the youth movement on this squad has some real talent. So these sophomores for UMary better get used to seeing these sophomores and juniors for Northern State. Knocked out of play, a throw for the Marauders. Subs continue to work on. Kendra Cook comes in, the senior out of Colorado Springs. Got the start today for UMary here in what is in all likelihood the final home game for the senior. Playing in her 4th year. Played 4 games her freshman year, 3 her sophomore year, 6 in her junior year. All conference honors out of high school, and a team captain at Palmer High School. She'll graduate with a degree in exercise science from the University of Mary. Once again, touched out, a deep throw for UMary. And the second half, Brian, has mirrored the first in so many ways. UMary scores 1 goal in each half. They dominate the possession, particularly in the offensive third in each half. They control the chances. They only give up 1 shot in each half. It's a mirror image, and it's one that is coded in orange and blue.
Yeah, and 7 minutes left, but an incredibly complete game for UMary, and exactly what I think Coach Cook was looking for today. You know, it's tough to get up for a game like this. We mentioned the scenarios, not a lot on the line. It is cold. It is windy. We saw the players coming out at halftime. It would have been very easy to not play great, not play with effort. They did, and could not have a better bouncing pad into the postseason to face Minot State.
The foul comes, and so perhaps one of a final couple quality looks for Northern. Just trying to get something on the board here very late. and perhaps make some magic here at the MDU Resources Community Bowl. Free kick from the far side, two-woman wall for UMary, led by the newly entered senior defender Kendra Cook. Knocked over the wall, good header on, just wide. First real chance of the day, and it comes from Mallory Schoenhard and Northern, but it will never threaten Hannah Smith in the cage.
That was a nice job by Northern State. You get that ball up into the wind. It carried right over the scrum. They had two players there on the back door with an opportunity to head it in. Neither could turn it on the net. And probably their best chance of the day. I cannot think of a better one.
Constitute their third shot, so you don't have to strain the brain too hard, and that certainly comes to mind as the best opportunity, but it'll go by the wayside. For Northern, it's just been that kind of day for UMary. They have not missed playing a nearly picture-perfect game and getting everyone involved in it as well. Hannah Richter boots it out to the far side. Pressure applied by Allison Bird, who's been a good defender today for Northern. We've said her name a few times, coming up with some quality tackles. But, as is the case with everything else, the tackling advantage very much in favor, both in terms of number and in terms of quality, in favor of UMary. Shot directed in the general area code of Hannah Smith, but once again, never threatening. She'll just watch it wide and dump it off for Dahlberg and company to get their goal kick. UMary once again will take their sweet time en route to improving what was already their first double-digit win season since 2012. Now setting it up for 11 and a whole lot more. That pass stays in bounds. Kaylin may have some room to run, but it goes out for a touch and a Northern throw. Good job to settle that ball by Kaylee Schumacher, who's been impressive since entering. Once again, the UMary backline called upon. They will just watch on as Hannah Smith continues an exemplary effort. Not a full test of her abilities by any means, but in what small skirmishes there have been, she has won with flying colors.
And sometimes for goalies, I won't say it can be as difficult, but it can be difficult in a very different way when you are not tested very often. When you're standing, especially on a cold day, you get a little stiff, maybe not engaged in the game as you would be if you were seeing a shot every few minutes.
Particularly, as you said, on a day like today, and we wondered coming out of the halftime exactly how UMary would respond to this wind. The answer is they didn't do that much different.
Nope.
They changed up some of their approaches, keeping the ball on the ground, particularly when it was still 1-0, but on balance, UMary just continued to play their game, and it worked well.
They have, and yes, it looked different. The second half looked different than the first. In half one, Northern State could not get the ball in their attacking end. They were able to clear a couple times in the second half, but they have not been able to establish anything. And credit UMary. We talked about how they were keeping everything to the outside. They have also done a nice job of turning that ball around, finding the wind, getting it upfield, and getting quality chances in the second half.
Cassidy Pierce elected to just send it out for a touch with some hot pursuit by Northern. And again, the throw-in just results in a Mary possession. Now here comes a counterattack chance. Mary does not have numbers down the field still. Kathy on a nice run. Makes a beautiful move. Kathy on, still a chance. She takes the shot. And there is a big-time save by Justine Charles, but the follow-through is there. The payout for UMary comes one last time, and it's the sub who cashes in, Taylor Pettigrew. The hat trick for the Marauders in the final 2 minutes as they do put an exclamation point on a dominant showing.
Boy, that's great persistence. An outstanding save by Charles. I mean, that is a really quality save, but her defense flocked to her, kind of standing around watching, not able to get to that rebound. UMary ready to cruise to a victory today and pick up another win as they try and make some noise in the NSIC tournament.
And we told you in that first half, the scoreboard did not reflect the pace of play. It does now. A 3-0 result for UMary is appropriate for how well they have played. Booted out for a touch, fortunately for the Marauders. Could have resulted in one last corner. Though the squad out of Aberdeen has not been able to make much manifest on set pieces.
No.
For you, Mary, that was how goal number 1 came, and it'll in fact serve as the game-winning goal. Josephine Dahlberg struck first, and that perhaps would be enough. Now, Northern will get one shot at a corner here in the final 70 seconds of play.
Boy, if this Marauder team scores 3 goals in a game, they are not going to lose many at all. We mentioned only once when has a team been able to score more than 2 this season, and that was the NSIC champ in Mankato. Put up 5 versus the Marauders. 3 goals is enough for the Marauders probably to head a long ways.
Nevertheless, the margin will come down just a little bit as the set piece does develop for Northern. It's Sydney Shinte for the senior, playing in her final game, who delivers on the header. Good for the 4th-year player for Northern.
Yeah, that'll be a nice reward for her and feel good playing in her final collegiate game. Just very aggressive going into the net. A little spark here at the end, though too little too late, all but certainly.
The captain delivers for Northern as they prepare to begin their off-season. You, Mary, fleet of foot down the pitch. Maybe thinking about cutting that margin back. Aggregate matters in many ways, not now in this particular spot. And here in the final 30 seconds of play, you, Mary, gives up the goal. Hannah Smith relinquishes the clean sheet, but it comes very late and in a largely empty spot. Still, it'll be good for Northern. Their senior gets off with a goal, and they create some positivity headed forward. Nevertheless, the season comes to an end for Northern State. For you, Mary, it moves on back in the tournament for the first time since 2012, and they do so as the top road team. However, they won't have to leave North Dakota. The Marauders and the Beavers will be the opening round matchup. A tremendous season for you, Mary. Comes to an end here in the regular season with the tournament looming. We'll step aside. When we get back, we'll wrap it up from the MDU Resources Community Bowl. Welcome you back in one final time to the bowl as the University of Mary Marauders emerge victorious. 3-1 reads the final scoreboard, and that is closer than this game actually was, Brian.
Yeah, this one was over. You don't want to say from the word go, but man.
Maybe from 1-0.
The Marauders came out and just poured it on from the start. Northern State had a bad first half. They could not get the ball out of their own end. The shots were 18-1 at halftime. And the goals came late for the Marauders, but like you said, even if this game finished 1-0, it would have spoken much louder than that. They dominated the game, and now we'll get ready for Minot State in round 1 of the NSIC tournament.
The goal scorer on your opening salvo, our player of the game, brought to us by Choice Financial. Josephine Dahlberg had the money header right here. Nice job queuing it up in the studio, boys. Bam. On a picture-perfect pass, she drops it into the corner. That is 1-0, and that was good enough to be your game winner. And so 2-0, our player of the game, brought to us by Choice Financial. Who is People First? You can find out what it means at choicefinancialgroup.com. Our group in the studio did an outstanding job today. Cole Waletzko, along with Jared Calvert. Our 2 camera guys up here doing a great job as well. Noah Reed and Ross Kohlhaas. I was joined by Brian Rothenberger. I am Corey Brooks. Have a great night. Plenty of volleyball on Monday, and we're right back here at U Mary on Tuesday. See you then.